Hello and welcome to ACTV 20's Health Matters. I'm Dr. Eric Parks, and today I have a guest with me who's been a longtime friend, and he's also a wellness coach as well as other things, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his experience today, and we're going to hear about something that affects 1 in 3 people. So this is going to be really relevant for everybody to hear. I want to introduce Tony Johnisee. And Tony, thanks for coming and talking to us a little bit today. We're going to be speaking primarily about a condition called metabolic syndrome.
That's correct.
But I want everybody to know a little bit more about you, because I know all about you, and you're a very interesting guy. So Tony does coaching, so can you tell us a little bit about your history or what got you into this and what you do?
I'm a licensed financial advisor with the state of California, and I'm also a wellness coach. Mm-hmm. So, and one of the reasons I've got into being a wellness coach is on the financial planning, people had a challenge retiring. Right. The baby boomers who are retiring today, they can't, 97% of them. There's only just a very small portion, obviously, that have enough money set aside because of the pension plans that have gone away. 401ks are not what they used to be. But primarily what I'm focusing in on is on the wellness. 19 months ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And I've lived a fairly healthy life, worked out, having a culinary background. We ate exceptionally well, about 70% vegetarian, and got our proteins from lean proteins such as salmon and just chicken and all skinless. The metabolic syndrome that I'm talking about affects 1 in 3 people of the United States. Currently, there's over 90 million people here in the U.S., just the U.S., that have this thing called metabolic syndrome. And every year there are 3 million people affected by this. So these are 3 million new cases every year. Since I was one of those, and the medications that they gave me weren't quite working.
Right.
So they have a daily glucose that you're supposed to measure, and the daily glucose, mine was 306. It should be
pretty high.
Yes, it should be somewhere around 80 to 120.
Right.
121 is when you start sharing that you're pre-diabetic, and you need to take some physical measures and dietary measures in place. All of these metabolic diabetes 2 can be avoided. It's a lifestyle choice.
Sure.
So I went on their medication, metformin, and my daily glucose only reduced to 277.
Not significant.
Not significant enough.
Did they mention to you that there's lifestyle and dietary changes?
There was, and we had already done that.
Uh-huh.
And my challenge was I used to be much larger than I am now. I was nearly 400 pounds.
Wow.
And I've lost over 100 pounds in just a lifestyle change, eating healthier. But one thing I didn't change was adding the sports drink. So I was taking in about a half a gallon to a gallon of sports drinks a day. Come to find out, there's a half a cup to a cup of sugar in those. So it made me thirstier. And by making me thirstier, I'm thinking I have to drink more. I have to drink more water. Well, that led to my type 2 diabetes. So we wiped that out, and still we only reduced the daily glucose to 277. And then I found every homeopathic, trying to do everything, the shakes and everything that everybody's got out there. Right. None of those were working. And then came across a very, very amazing solution. And within 2 days of taking that, I had dropped down below 200 to 170.
Wow, finally. Yeah, it's like a breakthrough. Huh?
So it's like, okay, there's something else in my body or my body's chemistry that works with these things. And then we did that for about 2 months, and then we found a metabolic formula nutrition. And so I started taking that and the product number 1 I was saying. I went down below 100 for the first time.
Wow. So this is what got you interested in coaching people to help them figure out a way to get their blood sugar more more consistent, the insulin levels more level, and through the day. That's basically what happened with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then when I kept finding out that 1 in 3 people are going to be hit with this,
Right.
and then 3 million people in 2016 are going to be hit again with it.
Yeah, this is and as you were suggesting, since we're of the baby boomer generation, a lot of our friends, maybe because of financial hardships or just poor planning, but you add to that poor health, well, gosh, your retirement doesn't look so rosy anymore,
No, it doesn't.
not the golden years that we were hoping for. So let's talk a little bit about the kind of coaching that you do. What sort of what would a person come to you with typically?
Most of the folks that come to me, they're looking for how to change their health so that, because an ounce of prevention or $10 of prevention today is equated to about $300 worth of medical bill prevention.
That sounds right. I believe that.
You're a doctor, you understand keeping your health the way it should be, and
Right.
being a nutritionist as well. You understand that. So by me personally living that, gosh, I want to be able to share that with everybody.
Right.
I have an uncle, I have 2 uncles with type 2 diabetes, one on my mom's side and my dad's side.
Yeah. So you have a genetic predisposition, it sounds like.
Yeah, but nobody else in the family does. So I'm thinking, all right, if I can prove that all this works, I can get healthy, fine, I'll be the guinea pig. I will pave the path. So the reason why I'm doing this is people that I've met in the last year, they have a metabolic syndrome, not necessarily diabetes or pre-diabetes. They have a heart disease, atherosclerosis, their LDL cholesterol is elevated where it shouldn't be. Their bodies, men have an apple shape.
Yeah. So
And if
putting
your
on
waist,
the spare tire,
if your men's waists are above 40 inches, women's waists are above 35 inches, sort of that pear shape, you are a candidate for metabolic syndrome.
Well, that means it's already started.
It's already started.
You're putting on fat in a predictable manner that's related to chemicals like leptin and insulin that are dysregulated at that point. So you've already started down that path if that's the shape that you have. So then it's a matter of finding somebody to help you change that path and get back on something that makes sense, that works. Do you find that when you're coaching people that they're open to suggestions, lifestyle change, dietary changes?
Actually, they are.
Yeah.
They are. They're realizing that they're at a place in their life where they got themselves there
Right.
because of.
Now, you mean you get people to admit that it's their own doing that got them there?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. So they finally
good.
realized that, okay, who put the spoon in their mouth with the load of food?
Okay.
It wasn't that fast food company, it wasn't that restaurant, it wasn't that manufacturer of that food. It wasn't the farmer.
Can't even blame Monsanto, huh?
No.
Okay. All right.
But the reality is when I'm talking with someone and they come up and they say, okay, yes, I'm the one who has this lifestyle change. I've known I need to do this for a while. So then you work out, and having a culinary background is, where you and I met some 35 years ago.
Right.
Of course, we were like 5 back then.
I can't remember.
There you go. And so having that culinary background, I'm able to teach them the different foods,
Right.
the vegetables, and staying with the foods and vegetables, there's an interesting point. Our crops that we have are the land has been overutilized. They're not rotating from corn to watermelon to so on and so forth.
We've got
And when they add
monocrop cultures out there.
yeah, that's basically what they're doing. So when you have, and then they refertilize cow manure, chicken manure, whatever they're doing, they're only putting 3 of the 57 nutrients back in the ground that the plants need. So what do you do?
So what we buy at the grocery may look good, but it's
Yeah.
actually deficient in a lot of the nutrients
Exactly.
that actually would make us healthy if they were to have those in.
So the smaller farms, such as the organic farms, and they're rotating their crops, and they're
Right.
putting the 57 nutrients back into the soil every year, year after year. their food has the nutrients that supposedly the FDA and where the scientists have measured. That's what you're supposed to have in that zucchini.
Right.
That's what you're supposed to have in that broccoli and cauliflower, etc.
And my experience is that the food actually tastes different. To me,
Yes.
there's once you start eating food that is grown in a let's just say healthy agricultural way, they taste better.
It does.
So these are good. I'm glad you're able to help people with that culinary aspect, because so many people buy magazines and they try recipes, but their pantries, when I actually go and I do see people's pantries, they still have the white flour, they still have the white sugar, they have all the things that you shouldn't have in there, but they use them because they have them.
Right.
So to help them with that is really a good idea, and I'm glad that that's part of your coaching program too.
It is. And convincing people, you sort of have to be a little strong-armed or stronger-willed than they are. That flour, that sugar, sort of the white foods that they're buying, more of the high fructose corn syrup. A lot of the cereals that we have today are just flooded with them. When in the 1950s, when we introduced high fructose corn syrup, so did the obesity rate. Year after year, the more products were introduced in that, so did the obesity rate, so did the heart disease, so did heart attacks. And you look at some cultures around the world that don't have high fructose corn syrup, don't express that many different ways you can use corn, don't have these
Degenerative
problems.
diseases like
Yeah.
diabetes. Well, those are really, like you were saying earlier, these are lifestyle conditions. And so I would say calling yourself a lifestyle coach makes sense, because you're helping people not only with the culinary aspects, but also the nutritional side of things, that what supplements would help create a more whole experience for their healing and getting over the condition. But also, we talked about exercise, and I know that's a big part of what you do. So tell us a little more about how that fits in.
The exercise portion, we all have to be moving.
Right.
A lot of people don't move. They sit on the couch. We're in a big couch. We're very sedentary. Sedentary in our ways. We're in cubicles, and we're looking at a computer screen, and we're not moving about. We're not having to take this piece of paper down to this department or this person or getting these files signed. You're emailing.
Right.
So the sedentary life with our electronics it's hurting us.
Right.
So we have to get out 30 minutes a day, no matter what you do, 30 minutes a day of just an elevated heart rate. Even if your normal heart rate is, let's call it 80 beats per minute. If you brought that up to 90 beats per minute, that's more than you've ever done. And then if you can bring it up to the next level, and obviously you want to talk with your healthcare provider, what is your heart rate that you need to be at for your optimum of burning fat, burning the cholesterol?
That's a whole different
science
thing. There, yeah.
It is. But you need to communicate with your healthcare practitioner, with your nutritionist. You need to remove certain things out of the pantry. And the neat thing is as the financial advisor side, by buying pure and wholer foods with better nutrients in there, you're actually going to save money on your budget.
That's important. I think some people really resist changing a diet or a lifestyle because they think that it's going to cost them more.
Right.
Now, I mean, intellectually we can say, well, yeah, but preventing diabetes is going to be vastly cheaper than going through all the insulin and metformin and all these other medications. But on a more practical level, if they're eating foods that are better for them, they don't eat as much of them. So I think at the worst, it's a wash, right? I mean, if you're buying food that's maybe a little more expensive, but you're not eating so much of it.
Well, I think it's not quite of a wash. I think it's more of a benefit.
It is more.
And on paper, it's a benefit. Personally, if you're eating better, you're moving 30 minutes plus a day, and your pocketbook is, even if all things were even financially, if that were even, but you're moving, you're eating better, you're going to feel better.
Right.
You know, life's about capturing the moment. Life's about being in the moment. We only have today. Tomorrow's a gift. So tomorrow we need to unwrap it like it's a gift, like that childlike thing. oh, I get to go work out, not I have to go work out.
It's not a chore, it's a decision.
It's a decision, and it's a lifestyle choice. So you can either be in front of the blind or invisible freight train of healthcare or lack of your health, and then all of a sudden it's upon you and you're trying to jump off the tracks and you can't, because now it's got a hold of you. Now you're in the train. Now you're taking the metformin or you're taking statins that have adverse effects here, adverse effects here, adverse effects here. You know, I talking with a gentleman today who the statins that he was on was causing his muscles and his bones to stiffen up.
Right.
So much so they wanted to have surgery. And so, well, wait a minute. I know a couple of friends over the last year that were on statins to lower their cholesterol. At $300 a month, and they're retired, so they're 65 plus, and $300 a month to a person on a fixed income is quite a bit.
Well, I always ask, we've had a guest talk specifically about cholesterol, and we got into pretty good depth on that topic, and the use of statins, according to him, this doctor, had never been shown to really change mortality and morbidity. In other words, the reason that they give these drugs, presumably, is to lower cholesterol, which was supposed to have a beneficial effect on their health. But what has been shown time and again on different studies is that lowering cholesterol through lifestyle change and diet change actually does have a beneficial effect on mortality and morbidity.
Yes.
But taking the drug doesn't. What does change is that those drugs have an increased likelihood of cancer by 10%.
Yes.
And so when you look at cost benefit to adverse effects, I mean, I think it's much more, it makes more sense to look at lifestyle change, dietary change, and using a coach is so important. We talked before the show about this. You know, I have men patients in particular who resist coming to me, but they go to coaches. And I don't have any problem with that. I think it's great that men in particular will go to somebody who will help them through these kind of changes, because a lot of them just frankly they get tired of the system. They feel like they don't get any, like yourself. You said, gosh, I was taking all these medications and my goal wasn't being met. So what do? You know, you find things that work. And I know what you do works, because I've talked to you before about the successes that you have. Do you have some secret stuff that you use? I know that helps as well. Is there anything you can tell us about the chemistry or how it affects the metabolism, those kind of things?
Well, when you take statins and you take metformin, you're going to be lowering your CoQ10 natural production.
Right.
And if you don't get it naturally, you're going to have to introduce it from outside.
Right. And just CoQ10 is an enzyme that's necessary for energy production. In particular, if your heart can't rest between beats, you got a problem. And coenzyme Q10 is one of those things that helps the body produce ATP, which is an energy quotient that we have that allows the heart to beat, but also allows it to rest between beats. So yeah, the CoQ10 is now being recommended, I know, by a few health experts.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, off with your story then.
So it's like getting an oil change for your car. 3,000 to 5,000 miles, you're going to go change your oil. Your blood doesn't get changed, but it does renew itself 10 times a day. So if you have the 8 quarts in your body, or 8 pints in your body, or 16, it actually renews itself. But if it's renewing itself with pollutants such as your glutens that aren't being locked up with your insulin, that are introducing into your endocrine glands, and it's getting into the body, and now you're getting rid of the glucose. Or if your CoQ10 is not allowing your blood to be slipperier so that your heart and your muscles can rest between beats, and then when it does, you actually have, like in your car, better compression, when you've changed your oil.
Yeah.
So bringing that back to a way someone else can understand, because our body is a maze. It's a wonderful thing, but we need to treat it better. Some of the things that we enjoy doing is using like red ginseng, using some cinnamon extract, using some green tea extract. In our nutrients, that we have every bit of those. And one of the key elements in there is to make sure the delivery mechanism that you're getting these nutrients are bind in a natural element. So if you have...
So the body recognizes it as food?
As food, not foreign.
Right.
Because if you introduce a pill or a nutrient and it has this man-made delivery mechanism like an oxide or a chelate or a fumarate or a gluconate or a sulfate, that's all man-made. So if it's wrapping the mineral, the nutrient, the fiber, the protein, and it gets in the stomach and the stomach destroys it, by the time it gets into the small intestine, it doesn't do anything. The small intestine says, oh, that's foreign.
Yeah, I don't recognize that as food, so let it go.
Let it go. So, and your sanitation departments will tell you they remove tons and tons and tons of supplements out of their system because it does not dissolve.
Right.
So you want to find something, and we have those, that actually dissolve within 1 hour.
Right.
You want to find something that has indisputable scientific proof that it dissolves in your body and it's in your system.
Right.
So that's one of the neat things about being a health and wellness coach, being a financial coach, because that ounce of prevention eliminates those financial medical bills that you're looking at, and then you get those phone calls, and then you don't want to answer the phone, and now your personal wellness goes down,
right,
and stress level goes up, and then they're seeing you, saying, okay, wait a minute, now we have to do this. Now they're coming into your clinic to see the rest of your doctors to get a little healthier, because now the stress is pulling their...
It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
It's true. It's just like all this. You're speaking about, metabolic syndrome has many components. You mentioned about wastes that expand.
Yeah.
You're mentioning, well, I don't know if you mentioned blood pressure, but you mentioned how it helps the nutrients that you need, helps the heart be more efficient so the blood pressure can come down naturally. Right. High blood pressure is actually part of metabolic syndrome.
And the start of high blood pressure is about 130/85. So if your diastolic and your systolics are up in those ranges, that means your blood is thicker than it should be, because it should be thin enough to go through so your heart can pump it through. But if it has to labor sort of like a bodybuilder,
right,
who can lift a 10-pound weight with ease, but when it comes down to a 200-pound weight, he's going to strain a little bit more.
Right.
Then you take someone who's not a bodybuilder, who picks up the 10-pound weight, and it strains them.
Yeah.
Because they're not healthy. They haven't done anything. They've been sedentary. Don't even think about picking up the 100-pound weight, because they're not going to be able to do that. So
right.
Having your blood pressure at the right rates will help everything else. Your HDL cholesterol, the higher you have it is better. Above 50 is wonderful. Women above 50, men above 40. Right. But your LDL cholesterol, that's the one you want to make sure you keep in track. There are certain things that, back to the secret thing, of helping remove the visceral fat, which is around your organs.
Right. So is that what they call, is that the white fat or the red fat, or do you get into that?
I don't really get into that. And it's there.
Visceral
it needs
fat
to be removed.
versus the stuff that's padding you.
Right.
Yeah.
Stuff that's padding is the subcutaneous fat. But the visceral fat inhibits your organs. Essentially, if you think of every one of your organs being able to breathe.
Right.
Now, the endocrine glands that are all around the organs, they take in nutrients, they put out nutrients, there's a give and take to that. But if they're constricted in a vice of visceral fat, what's the likelihood they're actually going to perform at their peak level?
Right. So the trick, as I'm hearing from you, is that we've got dietary changes to help our bodies flip from wanting to burn sugar to burn fat.
Yes.
You've got exercise, which also helps the body to do that, right?
To burn the sugar and the glucose, right?
And yes, to get rid of that so we can start burning fat. And then there are some nutrients that our bodies need to metabolize our fat the way it was intended. So If we were to try to summarize, and so people have a takeaway here, because I know if anybody is interested in having a coach help them with metabolic syndrome, if you know you already have it or you're concerned about that, what are some things and takeaways that you would like people to know, some bullets?
First, measure yourself.
Right.
If your waist is above 40 for men, above 35 for women, write that down. You need to know that. You can go to your local drugstore, have your blood pressure checked. If not, go to your doctor. Have your blood pressure checked. If you're in the 130 over 85 range, mark that down. Now you've got two markers. If your LDL cholesterol, your low density lipids, are high, such as in the 90s, okay, we've got a problem. Or a 150 and above, I think it is. Your HDL, which is your high, they actually counteract each other.
Right.
So the more you can improve your high density, it removes the low density and improves the CoQ10. But you need to know what those numbers. Now you've got 3.
Okay.
If your body mass index is above 30, now you got 4.
And you could Google that. How do I know my body mass index?
You can, yeah, right. And I'm abnormal size. I'm 6'5", I'm 265, and my doctor considers me obese. Yet my waist is under 40, my belly is under 40, but I'm still, considered on somebody's chart.
Sure.
But that's okay, because I know I need to lose a little bit more, firm up a little bit more, and I take that responsibility on myself. So what people need to do is get a hold of myself, get a hold of yourself, come in for a consultation.
Yeah.
Then we talk, we look at your numbers, and then we find out what you really want to do.
Right.
And once you've set your mind to say, I need to get healthier this year, because we only have today and tomorrow's another day. So if tomorrow's going to be your New Year resolution or New Day resolution, that you're going to get up, you're going to go do your 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever you can build yourself up to. You're going to eat not white food. You're not going to go to the fast food restaurant. You're going to eat healthier, and you're going to involve your entire family in your health goals.
And then you can participate as an accountability person.
The accountability, we all need it.
Yeah, well, I've worked out at the gym with a partner, and boy, I don't miss days. When they miss a day and I miss a day, and now we get into a habit, that's just not, it doesn't work as well. So having somebody that you're accountable to, having yourself accountable, of course, is ultimate, but another person can give you, landmarks and say, okay, this is our first goal, this is our second, our third. That way you're making progress, and it's measurable. So I think that's really important. Doctors like to make sure that their patients are getting better, but drugs are typically not the answer to getting well on this. And so I really appreciate you and your work, Tony. And for all of you out there, please give Tony a call. His information is on the credits at the end of the show. So feel free to contact him or contact myself, and I can give you some information that would help you. Thank you very much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.